Hello and welcome to the Fabrity Talks podcast. Here we talk IT news, tips and tricks, use cases and case studies. If you have any questions about the subject that we cover, don't hesitate to drop us a comment or a message. And if you would like to know more about low-code, visit our blog at fabrity.com or check out the links we provided in the episode description. My name is Michał, I'm a digital marketing manager in Fabrity, and with me is Jarek.
Hello everyone, my name is Jarek. I'm an IT content manager here at Fabrity.
Today we will talk about rapidly growing trend of hyperautomation. So episode 2, hyperautomation. So Jarek, let's define hyperautomation. Low-code and no-code solutions we're talking about on our last episode are the part of large drive toward hyperautomation. So what hyperautomation really is?
So to begin with, the term hyperautomation was coined by Gartner in 2020. It's an automation brought to the new levels. It's a business-driven approach that uses multiple technologies, platform or tools to identify, analyze, and automate a wide range of IT and business processes. This is the approach that is used to automate tasks and processes that are normally and traditionally performed by human employees by introducing technologies such as robotic process automation, machine learning, or artificial intelligence, and joining them together in the entire ecosystem. So it's like the automation brought to the every department of the company.
So are humans really involved in the process of automating stuff within the company?
Yeah, of course, because we have to do the analysis of the processes or workflows that can be automated. So the human input is here crucial, critical to automate processes.
Okay.
So it's not about excluding human workers from the process, but to automate tedious and troublesome and laborsome tasks that can be easily done by some automated tools or artificial intelligence, and allowing people to just focus on more critical, more creative tasks that require problem-solving skills that artificial intelligence does not have simply.
So you would say that what is the main point in hyper-automating processes in the company?
The main point is just the choosing the right process to automate, then applying the right mix of technologies, and to create rapidly intelligent automation solutions on a broad scale. So it's not about just, let's imagine the company as a whole. So we have different departments, and every single department has its processes and wants to automate. For example, HR processes related like, sick leaves and vacation requests and so on, onboarding of the new employees. And let's imagine that there is a silo and every single department is working on automating their processes. And we want to have the whole company-wide approach that would be focusing on automating every single process in the company that can be automated. So there is no one department that has automated this process and the second one that automated other process. This is a company-wide initiatives focusing on automating every single process that can be automated.
All right. So actually looking at the workflows in the whole company outside of departments and putting them together using artificial intelligence to empower the process.
Not only artificial intelligence.
More or less correct?
Yeah, not only artificial intelligence, but also robotic process automation, machine learning, low-code and no-code solutions, because it is important to say that low-code and no-code solutions are also the part of this general drive towards the hyper-automated company in the future. So it's like connecting the process together because, you can have different processes that are separate, and we would like, for example, some cross-department workflows to be automated at the level of the company as it is.
So choosing the right processes to automate and applying the mix of technologies to create intelligent automation. So let's call it intelligent automation solutions in a broad scale of the company.
Exactly. That's the point.
So let's try to define what is hyper in hyperautomation. Automation removes manual workloads and interventions from IT departments. So how the hyperautomation is performed?
I think that we have to point out 4 major differences between hyperautomation and automation. The first one is about outcome. So automation leads to efficient operations. So, like, for example, we use low-code platform to streamline the process and to reduce costs and eliminate repetitive tasks, for example. But hyperautomation leads to smart, efficient operations. So it's like another level. The second difference is about technology. Automation is task-oriented and based on RPA, while hyperautomation involves multiple technologies that are chained together. So not only RPA or robotic process automation tools, but also low-code, no-code tools, machine learning, artificial intelligence, all these technologies that are chained together to provide a hyperautomation at the level of the company. The third thing is the scope. So because automation is only conducted from a single platform, let's imagine one local platform that is implemented in one department, while hyperautomation involves a network of systems, technologies, and platforms. So we can imagine that we have low-code platform, API platform, artificial intelligence mixed together to create this result. And last but not least is the degree of coverage. Hyperautomation can automate everything, but automation can only be applied where it is relevant. So you can imagine that with automation, we are automating or streamlining the processes, single process in a single department, while with the hyperautomation, we create the entire ecosystems of automated processes. Like you can imagine that you have one platform that, rules them all. So rules all the processes that are performed in the company.
Okay, let's try to break it apart a little. So you introduced the term robotic process automation. Could you say a little more about that?
Robotic process automation is a set of tools that are about automating repetitive tasks done by people. There are platforms that can, for example, allow you to create tools that will be used instead of human workers. So there will be a robot performing some repetitive actions, like creating spreadsheets, creating documents, creating some...
Yeah, so a little bit like macro in the Excel.
Yeah, but of course at the higher level and the higher level of complexity. But yes, it's just like the special dedicated software that is used to create automations of the repetitive, tiresome tasks that used to be performed by human employees, for example, entering data into database, like for example, or simply controlling the correctness of data and so on. So there are a lot of tasks that can be automated with RPA solutions.
Okay, so what about the scope? Because you pointed out that, automation is more about starting from a single point, while hyperautomation involves a network of systems. So it's much more, let's say, holistic approach.
Yeah, I think it's
of automation.
Good point would be, I think the good point of reference would be a smart factory where you have every sensors, every software that chain together to give you the entire overview of the all processes performed in the factory, by human workers, by the machines, quality control, everything is, in the one platform. So there is no separate process. Like maybe the smart home is also the good comparison. Like you can imagine that your company has a smart home when every single piece of thing, a process is automated. You can check temperature, the lighting. You can check if the door is closed, for example. You can monitor if there is a robbery or not, for example. And you can have a single panel where you can check all these things. And that's about, I think that's the point of hyperautomation, creating one central panel of uniting all the processes in the company. Of course, it will be much more complex.
System of systems.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. One system to rule them all, like in the Lord of the Rings.
All right. And I get the impression that the key word here is, besides hyper, of course, it's smart, because you mentioned that it's not only about efficient operation, but smart and efficient operations. So what does that smarter operations and smarter automations mean in that particular case?
It's a good point, because automation is about streamlining or automating the process that can be automated. Not every single process can be automated because it's too complex, it would be too costly, there's no software, there's human input required, and so on. So there are many reasons for not doing this. Whilst hyperautomation, we are trying to go to the next level, trying to figure out how to simply automate every single process in the company. That it may be not so easy to do this because you are using for low-code platform. But maybe with the artificial intelligence, you can do it better, and you can simply automate something that apparently shouldn't be automated, couldn't be automated. That's that. It's like trying to apply the smart approach, like, to give a certain degree of independence to the systems that can, for example, judge or have. We can do this with the machine learning or with the artificial intelligence. With that, the system would be have some kind of, let's call it, knowledge or some kind of skill to do the things that people used to do. Like, for example, generating product descriptions. We can use, for example, some AI-based writer to generate product descriptions automatically based on the input, and people are just simply checking the correctness.
Yes, there is more and more tools covering AI for different uses. I mean, we get lots of emails trying to, advertise solutions involving AI.
Yes, it is true that there are a lot of AI-based tools, like, for example, very well known, and that is on the headlines solution, OpenGPT. This is the model that was published by OpenAI, that was recently bought by Microsoft, and that is a chatbot that can write songs, for example, do different tasks. Like, for example, you can ask it to write a poem or just to say what are the technology trends for 2023. So there are a lot of tools. So hyperautomation is rather about implementing all this tool set into the system than doing it only for a single process.
So let's try to dive deeper into technology, because hyperautomation is a broad term and it consists of various building blocks. Well, we mentioned AI, we mentioned RPA, we mentioned machine learning. There is also natural language processing and, of course, low-code topic we covered in our last podcast. Well, the first one, actually. So let's try to break it down. So, Jarek, how artificial intelligence is involved in the process of hyperautomating?
I believe that AI is a key hyperautomation driver that focuses on creating smart machines that can handle tasks that previously required human intelligence, or, for example, translation. So it used to be done by people. Now you have machine translation, and you can use like Google Translate or other machine translation solutions to have your content translated, and the output quality is very high. So it is quite easy to understand what the original text in original language is about. And AI is the technology that makes hyperautomation different from traditional automation efforts, because AI uncovers and automates processes and data that were previously inaccessible, and allowing us to the creation of so-called digital twin of the organization, so that digital replica of the organization. This is yet another trend that is worth mentioning here, because you can create a replica of your organization in the digital world just to make all the experiments, simulation safer and more cost effective. Like, imagine that you are doing all the tests not in the real life, but in the digital environment that precisely resembles their real life. It's a great thing.
I think we have quite a blog post on digital twin on our blog.
We wrote about the digital twins, and if we talk about Gartner put digital twin as one of the most important technology trends in the future, in the coming few years.
So maybe that's a topic for our next episode, probably. All right, because you mentioned Google Translate, and that swiftly moves us to natural language processing, or so-called NLP. So could you say a few words about that?
Yeah, I think that we are observing a huge change when it comes to the natural language processing. So it's like, I couldn't say that the computer or AI algorithms can understand human language as people do, but there are a lot of areas where NLP is used, like not only translation, but also text transcription. You can just transcribe your audio files because the AI understands, of course, not in a literal sense, but knows how to transcribe the spoken language. AI can generate text, so you can give written input and ask the speech synthesis software to say it. And there are a lot of solutions that use this NLP models to, for example, generate speech, voice recognition, of course. And it's like, modern NLP provides a new and improved way of handling processes and enhancing operational efficiency, which in turn accelerates hyper-automation efforts. So it is very
Yeah,
important.
there's a tremendous leap in natural language processing. I mean, we all, I think, remember how it used to work like a few years back and how it works now. I mean, you can just talk with Google Assistant or Alexa without any
No more jokes about machine translation, because I remember that there were a lot of translators who were joking about it, especially for Polish language, which is very complex language with complex syntax, and people just were joking about it. Funny translations made by Google Translate, but it used to be a statistical machine translation. Now we have neural machine translation, and it's far more better, and it's getting better every time.
So I think that leads us to machine learning, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course. All these NLP models, language models that are used in speech recognition, in speech processing, or in the machine translation are based on the machine learning algorithms that analyze the huge sets of language data, linguistic data, to identify patterns and develop more accurate predictions, because it is important to say that machine translation is like the prediction model. And the algorithm wants to foresee what word should be next in the row. So yes, it's an algorithm. And of course, it is important to say that machine learning can help us to take better informed decisions and to perform even most complex tasks with little human input. I think it's machine translation or machine learning is not about removing people, but about empowering people with the possibilities and skills to use some tasks better, faster, more efficiently. That's my point.
All right. So if we on the input topic, I think that's the place where we should just briefly go back to the robotic process automation and what it is, just to give the full coverage of the technology in this section.
Because just to close this topic, RPA is ideal for automating repetitive business processes, like software bots can understand content on digital screens, navigate systems, perform the right keystrokes, or identify or extract data, for example. So you can imagine that there are some testing of new software, and it requires to perform the testing scenario by a person by a tester who just needed to click every single button on the screen to check if it works, if it leads to the correct location. Now you can use a software bot that can do this testing automatically. So it's like, it improves efficiency greatly. So
all right, so repetitive tasks will be covered by machines. That's probably the future.
There are various business operations like pricing, billing, procurement, system maintenance, and so on. So every company, the bigger the company is, the more repetitive and troublesome task it has. It's true. So API is a great solution for moving operational efficiency and save just. To put it clearly, to save money.
So the last thing is low-code platform. I think we will not talk about it here because we covered this topic in our first episode. We're talking there about low-code, no-code, and we're just giving a brief introduction to the hyperautomation. So please check out the first episode if you're interested in that, and we will probably find all answers. If not, just drop us a comment and we'll try to cover it in the future.
Yeah, it's true that we already covered this topic, and just to say it briefly, low-code platforms are very important because it's like, visual software development environment that can be used by citizen and enterprise developers. That citizen developers that are people that have little or no coding skills. They can simply use some already input building blocks to create applications or workflows, and it's a very important part of the hyperautomation because you can, by implementing low-code platform in your company, you can simply empower your employees to automate tasks. They can do it by themselves without coding skills, because coding skills are not required. And of course, everything should be checked and managed by the IT department, but still if your employees have the possibility to create some automation tools, it is great for them, so they can do this without learning coding skills.
Okay, Jarek, so let's try to talk a little about benefits of hyperautomation. Well, hyperautomation helps to extend the core automation operations of organizations by employing, well, advanced technologies mentioned before, like NLP or APA or RPA. Enhanced digital process automation would be the first benefit.
Yeah, when talking about technology investment, of course, the very first thing that comes to mind is that the return on investment. So because we are putting on money on the table to invest in the technology, and we want to have some returns and just save money. So I think the very first benefit of hyperautomation is digital process, that is automation that is brought to a new level, so it is enhanced. So it's like not only automating one thing, but automating every single thing possibly in the companies, so to bring operational efficiency at the level of the company. It means, of course, savings, because when you automate tasks in the whole company, you are save money. It's like it's as simple as that, I would say.
So this liberating humans from handling repetitive tasks also introduces some kind of agility to organization.
Yeah, of course, because you don't have to do everything by yourself or manually, because it takes a lot of time, and it wastes your energy that can be dedicated to some more demanding or creative tasks, like and for example, Gartner predicts that by 2024, 69% of repetitive tasks that are currently performed by managers will be automated. And this is very important, because instead of doing some paperwork, you can automate this and just focus on more important things.
So the next thing what comes to my mind, if you're not using expensive human workers for repetitive tasks, you get probably lower costs, don't you?
Yeah, I think that one of the main costs, let's put it bluntly, of every company is their employees, their salaries. And if you can automate some kind of process, your employees became more effective, and they can do more, requiring more demanding stuff, instead of just entering that data. That data entry can be done by some RPA bot that can automate it, and that's of course means that now you have not to hire additional people. You can just hire a robot to do this repetitive tasks, cut your spending, which is very important, especially now. A lot of people are talking about incoming recession to the Western world. I don't know if it's true, but lower costs are always important for efficiency of every company.
Everyone tries to optimize costs. That's a natural thing to do, actually, in business.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the hyperautomation is about cost optimization.
And I would say that it also introduces, or forces even, some kind of standardization in business processes, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the bigger the company, the more paperwork he has to do. And the more processes, the more, tiny little things and tiny little errors that, are made by humans, and that are, very difficult to spot. And, at the very end of the day, it's like, a whole mess. So let's imagine that you have 10 people that are entering data to the database related to their transactions. And for example, they are entering the name of the buyer, and they are entering the name of the buyer, which is the same, but they are entering it in 10 different versions. So for the database, there are separate entries, but in fact there are one. And you can use a low-code platform to unite this data in the database, and then automate the whole process of data entering, so that every piece of data is standardized. So it's like there are a lot of examples, like HR processes. So you can standardize everything and be sure that everything is simply done in the same way by everyone, but I mean not people, but machines, but by bots, by APA tools, and so on. Because people.
Okay, so another benefit that is found here is improved data storage and accessibility, what is demanded by standardized business processes.
Yeah, of course, because it's like a hyperautomation is developed on the premise of an operation that requires integration of process and software, leading to seamless interactions between on-premise infrastructure and data storage. And you can, of course, imagine that a lot of automations are done in the cloud. Now we are moving to the cloud, not only the public cloud like Google or an Amazon cloud, but also the private one or a hybrid cloud. So it's like, cloud migration or operations in the cloud are just quite obvious thing now in the business. So hyper automation brings key additional benefits.
Okay, so when I'm thinking about it, so we've got standardized business processes, improved data storage, and probably better accessibility, some kind of agility in the processes. So would you say that it can benefit in better business decisions
Definitely.
automation, hyperautomation?
When you have hyper-automation, you have plenty of knowledge on which you can base your business decision. It's like one of the, I think, the holy grail of hyper-automation, or every automation or every technology implemented in the company is to make informed decisions. So it's like, that the aim is to give managers the tools that they can use to make proper, correct business decisions. That's one of the main, I think, in my opinion, benefit of hyper-automation trend.
Okay, and would you say that it somehow affects, for example, customer experience?
Yeah, because every business is at the end of the day about customer. So you can have B2B or B2C customers, but it is always about customers or clients when you talk about B2B clients. So it's, if your company is effective, if you can make better business decision, and if you are reducing your spending on operations and take control of your cost, there are customers that are benefiting from this. So I think at the end of the day, it's a customer that benefits from hyper automation in the company.
So what would you have to say to the employees? How does it affect teams if the company has got hyper automation in place?
First of all, that when automation is done right, practically eliminates human errors. And the only condition is that it should be well designed by humans, because we say that artificial intelligence or any automation tools can make mistakes. Of course, they are making mistakes, but probably because they were trained or poorly trained or just poorly prepared by humans. So they are just repeating human mistakes. And I think it is one caveat that should be taken into account when creating or protecting automation solutions. Of course, and automation requires a lot of investments in specialists, in new technologies, analysts, and programmers. When you have a lot of automated tasks, the team collaboration is better, because you don't have to waste your time communicating different things, writing emails, on sending messages via communicators, but just you can automate or rely on automation. And the more it's automated, the better, because you can dedicate your efforts on doing business critical things that require real collaboration. It's just like collaborating with people on doing paperwork. It's like it's a tedious task. It's better to work with people on creating improving their product to get better business results than to create some process for document management. It's like tedious part of work, and I think it's better to avoid it.
Okay, so it's more about team collaboration and reducing manual tasks that are boring.
And increasing productivity, of course, because really from repetitive tasks will allow you to focus on tasks that require creativity or specialist knowledge. And no artificial intelligence can handle it. So it's like the real benefit is you're just benefiting your employees, because if they don't have to do some tedious repetitive tasks like entering data, but they can work on more creative tasks, it's better for them. They are they like the job they are doing, they like you as an employer, so they can develop their skills and so on. So it's, I think, benefit both for the company and for the employees.
All right, so let me summarize in a few few sentences. So the possible benefits of hyperautomation would be enhanced digital process automation, agility within the organization, lowering operational costs, standardizing business processes, and improving data storage and its accessibility. Also, that leads to better decision making and, allowing people to focus on their customers or clients. And on top of that all, it's better teams with better collaboration, not focusing on manual, boring tasks. Is this more or less correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That you made a great summary of what we said.
Thank you. Okay, so just to summarize our podcast on hyperautomation, let's talk about predictions regarding this topic.
Okay, maybe let's start with the Gartner predictions, because Gartner is regarded one of the main technology consulting companies in the world. And Gartner identified hyperautomation as a growing trend that will continue to develop. And the company, Gartner, defines this as an automation that uses robotic process automation and other available technologies like AI or machine learning to support businesses in carrying out their core processes. So we can expect that this trend, this drive towards hyperautomation will be continued in the next years, in the years to come, especially because there's a shadow of recession. A lot of companies and people are expecting the recession in the coming 2022 year, and cutting costs is always important in recession. So hyperautomation would be an important part of business efforts to tackle this challenge of recession, the very thing. And the second thing is that global industry research company McKinsey indicates that organizations that simply do not automate fall behind the market. So, and I think this hyperautomation is a global trend, and you need to jump on this wagon to not to stay in line with your competitors. So it's like I think it's becoming a must for every company to automate. It's not the question of automate or not to automate. It's just you need to automate. The third thing is that, a lot of companies, especially bigger ones, has this functional silos, and hyperautomation is aiming at removing them. It's just trying to create end-to-end automation at the company level. So as we talked already, there will be no separate automation processes in different departments, but there will be one platform for automation through them all. That's the trend. And last but not least, hyperautomation is expected to shape the market in the following years. And this, of course, also includes the increased use of low-code or no-code tools, digital twins, so creating digital replicas of real environments, and applying mass market robotic process automation. Of course, there will be also a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning solutions that will be applied. So I think that it's true that hyperautomation is one of the main technology trends in the years to come.
So actually no companies will survive without introducing hyperautomation,
yeah, I'm afraid,
breaking
I'm
silos.
It's a vital question, because you need to automate. You need to automate, because without this you will not remain efficient in your operations.
Competitive.
And, you will not cover your cost and some, and you will not be able to compete with other companies from your industry or sector. That's the point.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you have any questions about the subject that we covered in this episode, just comment or message us. If you would like to know more about low-code, visit our blog at fabrity.com or check out links we provided in the episode descriptions. Thank you for listening, Michał and
Jarek from Fabrity.